These are two of the coolest lights that I've seen in a while. It's pretty easy to get bored with new light releases when they're pretty much the same rehashed design with different branding. So when I saw the Molus X100 and G60 from Zhiyun, I knew that I had to do a video. The X100 is a pocket-sized 100-watt bicolor COB light, and the G60 makes the Nanlite Forza 60 look like the Aperture 600D, at least as far as size goes. Both of these lights support the native ZY mount and have a slew of mini modifiers, including a domed diffusion, a stock reflector, and a mini pop-up softbox. The dome diffuser is silicone, attaches directly to the stock reflector, and collapses down quickly for storage. It's great for bringing up the ambient light in a room while also adding some directionality. The mini softbox is one of my favorite accessories because you just pull back on a couple of wings to instantly pop it open, and then twist it to close it just as quickly. It has a diffusion diameter of 8 inches, and it also comes with a grid that you can attach with Velcro when you need to focus the light without having as much light spill. They also make larger lantern and parabolic softboxes that you can use with these lights as long as you have one of the Bowens adapters. The adapters are really well made, and they have integrated reflectors to maximize the efficiency of the lights. They also include umbrella holes if you want to use umbrellas as modifiers instead. The G60 also has a mini tabletop tripod that can be used as a handle as well, and it screws into the mounting yoke of the light using the 1/4 inch threaded hole. Part of what makes the G60 so small is that the mounting yoke is so small that it's barely even there, although it's very strong for its size thanks to the rosette-style locking mechanism. It's plenty strong for the native modifiers, and anytime you use one of the Bowens mount adapters, the weight of the softbox and the light itself is put onto the Bowens adapter, so the size of the mounting yoke on the light really isn't an issue. Both lights support AC wall power and USB-C, but one of my favorite things about the X100 is the optional battery grip. It plugs right into the side of the light, making it one of the brightest, if not the brightest, handheld options at this size. The battery grip itself charges via USB-C and takes about 2.5 hours to go from fully empty to 100%. It also has a 4-light battery level indicator and can run the X100 at 100% brightness for about 30 minutes. Unlike some other lights, there's no difference in maximum brightness regardless of the power source that you're using. There's also a second threaded hole on the bottom of the X100 that's meant to be used when the battery grip is attached. It's closer on the body of the light to the battery grip just so it's more balanced when you're mounting it. You also get little mesh bags that you can put the power adapters in to hang on a light stand and keep the cords out of the way. The control system for both of these lights is nearly identical and very simple. You have one knob for adjusting the color temperature and another knob for adjusting the brightness. Pushing in on the CCT knob lets you jump between presets of 2700 Kelvin, 5500 Kelvin, and 6500 Kelvin. Pushing in on the dim knob lets you jump between brightness presets of 0, 50, and 100%. Holding down the CCT knob on the X100 changes it to music mode, which is supposed to flash the light in sync with music that's playing via a microphone on the light. Unfortunately, in my testing, the flashing of the light was delayed in comparison to the music, so much so that it almost looked randomized. I'm not sure if this is something that they can fix with a future firmware upgrade, but personally, I don't really care because I'm never going to use that mode, but it's something you should know. Holding down the dim knob on the X100 lets you choose between normal and live mode. Live mode simply starts the lights up with the same settings you previously used, as long as you still have the lights connected to AC power. The G60 doesn't have music mode, and it's a little different in that you hold down the dim knob instead of the CCT knob to switch between live and normal mode. Triple pressing the power button on either of these lights resets the Bluetooth, which, yes, means they both have mobile app control. Within the mobile app, you can control individual or groups of lights and change the brightness and color temperature, as well as choosing between a few different presets or creating your own. The app also has a mode where you can color match the G60 and X100 to any other lights simply by taking a photo. You might think that since the X100 is about 50% fan, that it would be pretty loud. The good news is that both of these lights are among the quietest that I've ever tested, especially the X100. Both of these lights come in multiple kit options, but if you get the combo or pro kits, you also get a carrying case with high density foam inside. I like the cases, but one problem is that they look identical from the outside, so you have to open them up to see what's inside. Until I test lights, I'm always worried that they'll fall short where it matters most, color accuracy. I tested both of these lights with my Silicone Parabolic C800 and got the following results. With the G60 set to 3200 Kelvin, I got an actual CCT of 3206, a brightness of 2600 lux, and a color correction number of 0.6 green, meaning it has a slight magenta tint. This is one of the most accurate CCTs to what is actually listed on the back of the light that I've ever tested, and the brightness is right on par with every other 60-watt bicolor light. One interesting thing is that this light has a magenta tint on the tungsten end, while most other tungsten lights have a green tint. On one hand, I like this because LEDs turn greener over time typically, so that means that this light should be closer to neutral down the road. On the other hand, if you plan to mix these lights with other lights from other brands, you may start to notice a difference between the two in tint. If you're using only the Zhiyun lights, then as long as you have your white balance set properly, it's a total non-issue. At 3200 Kelvin, I got a CRI of 96, TLCI of 98, and SSI versus the tungsten standard of 85, which are all fantastic. The individual R values are also great, so nothing to worry about there. With the G60 set to 5500 Kelvin, I got an actual CCT of 5587. I also got a brightness of 2640 lux and a color correction number of 1.1 green, meaning it has a slightly above average magenta tint. At 5500 Kelvin, I got a CRI of 96.3, TLCI of 99, and SSI versus the daylight standard of 75. All of these are excellent, and the individual R values are all more than acceptable. With the stock reflector attached at 5500 Kelvin, I got a brightness of 13,500 lux, or about 2 1/3 stops increase in brightness. You might also notice that the reflector brought the tint down to nearly perfectly neutral, and that's pretty typical. Anytime you add or change modifiers with any brand of lights, you should always reset your camera white balance for the best picture, because every modifier changes the color temperature and the tint differently. With the X100 set to 3200 Kelvin, I got an actual CCT of 3197 Kelvin, a brightness of 3310 lux, and a color correction number of 0.2 green, meaning it has a very subtle magenta tint. At 3200 Kelvin, I got a CRI of 96, TLCI of 98, and SSI versus the tungsten standard of 83, which is slightly lower than the G60, but still very good. With the X100 set to 5500 Kelvin, I got an actual CCT of 5344 Kelvin, a brightness of 3950 lux, and a color correction number of 1.4 green, meaning it has an above average magenta tint just like the G60. I got a CRI of 95.5, TLCI of 99, and SSI versus the daylight standard of 73. One thing that stood out at 5500 Kelvin was the individual R9 value of 82.9, which is important for accurately rendering skin tones. Ideally, this would be in the 90s, but as long as the SSI and other numbers are good, I don't really worry unless the R9 is in the 70s. With the stock reflector attached to the X100 at 5500 Kelvin, I got a brightness of 20,400 lux. That's about a 2.5 stop increase in brightness, so essentially the same story as the G60. Overall, I have no reservations about the color quality of these lights, and I think they make the perfect pair because they match each other so well. The X100 comes in a standard, combo, and pro kit for $249, $349, and $399 respectively. The G60 comes in a standard or combo kit for $199 or $249. Each kit for each light comes with slightly different accessories, so I'm not going to list what's within all 5 of them here, so make sure you click the links in the description and check them out thoroughly before making a decision. The most notable things in my opinion are that the standard kits do not include carrying cases, and that the standard kit for the X100 does not include the battery grip. I lean heavily towards the combo and pro kits because of the carrying cases and the additional accessories. The G60 combo kit is right in line or just under other lights like the Godox ML60 bicolor or the Nanlite Forza 60B. There are differences between the accessories that are included with those lights versus the G60, but I think that the mini softbox, the dome diffuser, and the minuscule size make it a real contender. The X100 is tougher to compare with other lights because I think it's pretty one of a kind. I think because of the power to size ratio as well as the really cool native modifier system, it's one of the most portable options out there and one of the best for creators with limited space. But what do you think? Before you go, leave a comment and let me know if you think the form factor on these lights is groundbreaking, gimmicky, or somewhere in between. Links are in the description if you want to check these lights out further, and I also did a review on the Zhiyun F100 RGB stick lights, which are really cool and really bright if you want to check that out. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.